How do we taste? Hey guys, Culture here. Today we're going to discuss how we perceive taste. More specifically, we'll look at the constituent senses that make up flavor and why people have different tastes.
For example, look at Culture and I. I wear only the finest designer brands. The shoes are Berluti, the shirt is Kenzo, and the pants are Saint Laurent. On the other hand, Culture just buys his filthy rags from Kmart.
And yet on camera, both our outfits look exactly the same.
But you can see the difference where it matters.
The bank account?
Ouch. I'm no better than rice gum.
I'm not talking about taste in fashion. I'm talking about taste in your mouth. We all get taught a couple of things about taste, but for the most part, one of our most basic senses is left completely in the dark. Isn't that kind of crazy? We eat so much food in our lives and make so many decisions about what we do and don't like to eat without even understanding why we have these preferences. So let's do a crash course on taste.
Oh my god, he said my name!
We all know the 5 tastes detectable by the tongue. Sweet, salty, bitter, sour, and the black sheep of the group, umami. The theory goes that each of these tastes developed to allow us to monitor our intake of certain types of foods. Sweet for carbohydrates, salty for salt and other minerals, bitter for dangerous substances, sour for organic acids or spoiled food, and umami for proteins. The picture is more complex and less clearly defined than that, but it's a good jumping off point. Crash, can you hold out your tongue for a moment?
Like this?
Good boy.
You know, I don't have to be here. I can leave anytime I want if you're gonna be condescending.
Alright, I'm just messing around. A common myth is that we have a taste map, certain regions of the tongue that are specialized to detect certain tastes. The tip detects sweet, the sides detect salt at the front and sour at the back, and finally the back of the tongue detects bitter. This myth started with subjective research by a German scientist named D.P. Hannig and was propagated in the West by psychology historian Edwin Boring.
What an appropriate name for a historian.
It wasn't until 1974 that scientist Virginia Collins clarified the results and restated them in a more practical manner. The differing sensitivities to certain tastes on different parts of the tongue do exist, but are so small as to be negligible. In actuality, all tastes can be detected wherever there are taste buds. We're all born with around 10,000 taste buds that are replaced every 2 weeks or so. As we age, however, the rate of replacement of taste buds slows down, decreasing the acuity of our sense of taste. Taste buds are found on the tongue, the soft palate at the roof of the mouth, and the epiglottis, the flap which blocks food from entering the windpipe.
Please don't point back there. I hate TV targets that look. I don't want to make the floor look like a Nickelodeon logo.
Taste buds are essentially bulbous bundles of nerve endings, with each of these nerves containing a receptor for certain ligands. A ligand is something which binds a receptor. Depending on the ligand-receptor combination, we get different neural signals to our brain corresponding to the 5 types of taste we talked about earlier. So why do we associate the tongue with taste when taste buds are all over our mouths? The tongue has specialized structures known as papillae, densely packed areas of taste buds. These allow for better resolution of taste sensations with higher intensity. Openings in the papillae, known as gustatory pores, allow the taste buds within to receive ligands. Though the tongue map is a myth, there are different localizations of papillae. We have the mushroom-shaped fungiform papillae at the front of our tongues, the leaf-shaped foliate papillae on the sides, and the dome-shaped circumvallate papillae at the back.
Can I please close my mouth now? My tongue is drier than Andre Burr in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't think I need to explain what sweet, sour, salty, and bitter are, but umami deserves its time in the rising sun since it was shunned by the Western world for over half a century. Umami is a savory taste triggered by the amino acid glutamate. Think of something like chicken broth, steak, or Parmesan cheese. Umami is a Japanese portmanteau of the words umai, meaning either delicious or meaty, and mi, which can be taken to mean taste or essence. Other dishes may be umai, but Japanese chemist Kakune Ikeda proposed the word umami in 1909 to specifically describe the taste sensation caused by glutamate. We now know that this umami taste can also be caused by 5' ribonucleotides, such as inosinate and guanylate.
Nerd.
Excuse me? Do you really want to get started with the name calling? Maybe I should tell the good folks at home how that ended last time.
No, you misheard me. I said curd, like lemon curd. I mean, personally, I love the taste, but I know you hate it, so why is that?
Nice save. There are a few reasons, but the one responsible for so many differences of opinion in taste is genetics. Different genes encode for different types of receptors in our taste buds, and therefore the same ligands can produce different neurological effects. The genetic basis for differences in people's perception of taste was first identified in the 1930s. A researcher by the name of Arthur L. Fox was using a compound called phenylthiocarbamide, or PTC for short, when some of the dust flew into the air. This led his co-worker, C.R. Nola, to taste some of the PTC. Nola claimed PTC was bitter, whereas Fox insisted PTC was not bitter and couldn't possibly be causing the taste that Nola was complaining about. They proceeded to taste more of the PTC and found that they still disagreed. This led to a full study with multiple participants showing that regardless of ethnicity, gender, or age, there were discrepancies about who sensed bitterness when tasting PTC. Eventually, this PTC bitterness trait was traced to a single recessive allele encoding for a certain bitterness receptor, hideously named TAS2R38. I'm not sure how you meant to pronounce it, but I'll call it Taster 38.
So they found this all out because some researcher dude was pouring chemicals all over the place. I might enjoy being a scientist after all.
I mean, sure, the initial discovery was by serendipity, but all the follow-up was rigorous, time-consuming work. Or as you might put it, boring.
Edwin Boring, am I right?
Anyway, the Taster 38 receptor can also detect the compound 6N-propylthiouracil, also known as PROP, which is found in leafy greens such as broccoli. That's why some people absolutely hate leafy greens and think they're bitter. There are also people called super tasters, who have a far increased sensitivity to certain tastes, usually bitterness. This is due to an increased number of papillae on their tongues.
What an awful superpower! You know what superpower I'd pick?
Let me guess, invisibility, so you can pull pranks on people?
What? No. Is that really what you think of me?
I mean, no. Of course not. I'm just joking around with you, man. I know you're a good guy deep down.
Thanks, Culture.
So what superpower would you pick, Crash?
Mind control, cause then I could make people do anything I want. Anything! Like I said, I'm not very good at evil laughs. I don't know why you always make me do evil laughs.
There are other ways to mess with these receptors too. The foaming agent sodium lauryl in toothpaste suppresses sweet receptors on your tongue, causing your orange juice to taste disgusting after brushing your teeth. Or take cynarin, a compound found in artichokes that temporarily suppresses your sweet receptors. If you drink water afterwards, it'll taste sweet because it washes away the cynarin and reactivates these sweet receptors. But of course, taste is just one aspect of what makes something appealing to eat. The full picture is more accurately described as flavor. Taste is the sensation produced by receptors in taste buds, but flavor is a combination of all senses: taste, smell, sight, and even sound. Think about the satisfying crunch of celery when we bite into it. However, the most important accompanying sense by far is smell.
I totally get what you mean. I was super hungry after a workout one time. That's right, everyone. I work out. So I decided to eat my sandwich in the locker room. Unfortunately, the guy next to me opened up his gym bag full of sweaty clothes right as I took my first bite. It was like someone had coated my roast beef sandwich with vinegar. Ugh.
Couldn't you have picked a nice example of smell affecting taste? Essentially, we have olfactory receptors in our nose that detect chemicals in the same way our taste receptors do. This signal adds to our taste signal to complete the flavor profile of the food we're eating. For example, coffee is bitter to taste, but it has an invigorating and distinct aroma. Strawberries and grapes both taste sweet, but we can distinguish between the flavor of strawberries and grapes due to their smell. Smell doesn't stop once the food enters our mouths either. Passage between the mouth and nose via the oropharynx and nasopharynx allows the smells of food to be delivered up to your nose and affect flavor. Saliva assists in this process by digesting food partially and releasing chemicals.
So I can smell the food in my mouth? Imagine if you could smell the food in other people's mouths.
I mean, it's not that weird. I can smell the food in your mouth because you never close it when you're chewing.
What's that?
Ugh, gross. One particularly strong case of smell affecting taste is with coriander. Coriander, known as cilantro in the US, contains many aldehydes. These aldehydes react with the olfactory receptor encoded by gene OR6A2 to produce the flavor of soap. Not a pleasant taste at all. Only some people possess this specific form of the receptor, however, myself included, whilst others find coriander completely palatable. The food industry is well aware of how powerfully smell can affect taste. Often scents will be artificially added to products to make them seem to contain certain ingredients. The smell of ham makes us think the food has salt in it, whilst vanilla is used to make us think that the food has sugar in it.
Oh yeah, love me some sugary foods. I've got a real sweet tooth, you know.
You mean that one decaying molar from all the sugar you eat? Yeah. I noticed. Almost everyone is born with a preference to sweets, perhaps due to our need for carbohydrates at a young age. Other flavor preferences are harder to predict though. We do know that experiences of flavors can be passed through the amniotic fluid to unborn children, affecting their own taste preferences after birth. A study by researchers Crystal and Bernstein in 1998 found that salt preference in infants was linked to the degree of morning sickness experienced by the mother during pregnancy. They found that the greater the intensity of morning sickness, the greater the preference to salt that the baby had. This could be due to maternal dehydration and therefore ion loss, with the baby's physiology compensating in development to seek out more ions.
So using that same logic, if we wanted to discourage babies from drinking and smoking, then we should give their mom plenty of alcohol and nicotine when they're pregnant.
No, Crash. As you can see, Crash is what some people would call an acquired taste. We use that phrase metaphorically, but is it actually possible to acquire a taste? That is, to make yourself like something that you previously didn't. In general, you can't completely flip your opinion on how something tastes, but you can make something you dislike be less disliked. Certain psychological and physiological factors can certainly help. Social pressure to conform can make us try new foods or eat something we usually wouldn't enjoy, like high society snobs eating caviar. Foods with addictive or stimulatory behavior can also override their initial taste and grow on us, like the bitter taste of coffee.
No way! Coffee is gross! I don't understand how people can drink that stuff!
I once saw you dunk a Cadbury cream egg in Vegemite and down it with hot sauce.
And your point is?
Never mind. Though mentioning hot sauce, that reminds me. Flavor has other components as well, such as texture, temperature, and irritation. Texture, in other words the mouthfeel of the food, is important with dishes like rice, where you don't want it to be too soggy. Temperature is a key factor for many meals. A cold bowl of soup or warm beer can be disgusting. Irritation is quite distinct from taste, processed through the trigeminal nerve and detected by nerves present in the mouth, nose, and eyes. The type of irritation you'd be most familiar with is spiciness, the heat and pain associated with capsaicin in hot sauce or peppers. Irritation is also responsible for the cooling feeling of menthol from peppermint or spearmint.
So flavor is made up of taste, smell, sight, sound, texture, temperature, and irritation. Okay then, smarty pants, what causes the smell of my favorite snack, Doritos?
Well, the oily, cheesy smell of Doritos is caused by isovaleric acid. Interestingly, isovaleric acid is also formed when bacteria break down the leucine in our sweat. That's why sweaty feet can start to smell like cheese or Doritos.
Great, you just had to ruin Doritos for me. Screw it. See you next week, everyone.
If you enjoy what we do here at CultureCrash, please consider supporting the show via our Patreon, where we have a bunch of awesome rewards, or by checking out our online store. All links are in the description below.